Hey everybody, today I'm going to do a video on a customer's car. This is a 65 Ford Fairlane 500 owned by Don Sieb out of Massachusetts. Or I'm sorry, Maine, not Massachusetts. So we just finished this one up. This is a Holly Dominator, Smart Wire, Pro 600, you know, the whole 9 yards. So this is a drag and drive car, small block Ford, Turbo 400. We wired the car for him. I got it fired up last night. We got everything working. So I figured I'd just kind of show off some cool stuff about this thing. This has been a long work in progress for him, and it's finally come to fruition. So he's pretty excited about it. So it's a 427-inch small block Ford, built by Steve Morris. Single Garrett, I believe 94 or 98, I don't remember exactly. Turbo 400, and this will be a drag and drive deal. So he's gonna be running this car in ultimate iron. It's gonna be on a big tire in ultimate iron, and then he'll of course run it on a regular tire going down the road. So big fuel cell in the back, fire system, uses an Aeromotive brushless pump, fuel level sending unit, puke tank in the trunk. So the goal here with this was to, he brought us the car, and we had some panels, he had some panels for the car behind the passenger seat, which is actually a really good spot to put electronics because it's pretty easy to get to. So nothing was mounted, so we just kind of came up with this configuration and made it work. So I still have to tie up a few loose ends, but I figured I would go over you know, what all we're working with and what we got. Dominator ECU, obviously. Injector driver module. So this is a 16 injector deal. So the second set of injectors is ran off of the driver module. And we got a Smart Wire, P-Motive P2000 battery. And behind that panel we have 2 of our contactor setups that we sell on our website. And it's got a Davis profiler, and over here there's a Davis VPS. So you guys have seen videos of mine about that stuff in the past. It's all implemented in the car. M&M shifter, 12.3 dash, and then we hid the up front here. We hid the Pro 600 up on top of the transmission tunnel. So the reason being is that you want the coil wires for the Pro 600 to be as short as possible. And I like to center them in the car. I like to keep them away from all the electronics, all the other electronics. So I center it in the car, so we got about an equal length going out to the coils. So the coil harness on this car is very short, the way it's supposed to be. The EGT module is tucked in back there. And then, if you notice, we spent a good bit of time making sure the footwell was completely clear. So everything, all wiring runs here, right, along these tubes. So those are for the puke tank. So all the wiring runs here and goes along those tubes, and then goes up out of the way of the footwell and then over towards the kick panel over here on the passenger side. So if whoever gets in the car, kick your feet all over the place and it won't be affected. So something that we usually strive to do here is make sure that the car is set up for the customer's application. You can do a lot of cookie cutter stuff and make jobs go in and out a lot easier and a lot faster, but putting a big wiring panel up on the floor up there would have been counterproductive because the customer is going to have a passenger because they're planning on doing a lot of driving, a lot of riding down the road. So if you're building one of these cars, be mindful of that, right? So obviously, if you mount all your electronics back here, don't anticipate everybody's plug and play harnesses to reach, although ours will. You know, you're gonna have to be doing some work yourself. You're not gonna be able to just pick something up off the internet and plug it in and everything should reach. But I do like having everything back here. And it also gives you easy access to all the communication ports, right? So I still have to tie this up, but this is your cable for the Dominator. We got another one for the profiler. So what we do is we just use a piece of, we print on a piece of heat shrink and we label all the USBs. So like if he's reaching in here behind the battery or behind the seat, grabs it, he'll know what's what, right? So that one's for Holly. You know, then we got another one for Profile. We got another one for Smart Wire. So all the things that he has to plug into or would want to plug into, he has access to. So this one, originally this car was a race car, and it didn't really have much for lighting, so we wound up kind of having to adapt some more light bulbs back in the housings and the tail lights. We got all that working. So now he's got turn signals, hazards, low beam, high beam, you know, brake lights, reverse lights, all the stuff that you're supposed to have when you're out driving down the road. It's also got a horn. So I'm going to go to the other side of the car, and we also do a lot of interior lighting. So interior lighting to me is pretty important because you have to be able to see what you're working on, especially if you're on the side of the road in one of these drag and drive deals. So I'll bump ignition on here, and then the plastic's still on the dash. I didn't want to take that off. But we've got a dome light. So there's a couple of them in the car. There's one here in the footwell. There's another one over here to light up everything, you know, on behind the car and whatnot. And then there's also another one underneath the car to access shocks. So if you need to access shocks, you know, you have to make adjustments to shocks or whatever. It's all lit up underneath of the car. Make a 4-link bar change, whatever it is, you can actually see what you're doing. Let's see, the race pack is controlling all this stuff, right? So the Smart Wire controls all of the lighting, you know, interior, exterior. It also controls the horn. I really like the horn. It's loud. So, but anyway, we got, you know, regular marker lights, and it's all independent. It's all up in here on 2 keypads. We used a Maven Performance. These are new. So this is a switch panel mount that Jared at Maven started making. What we did was we just drilled the panel to hold 2 keypads right next to each other. It stays up nice and high, up out of the way. I like this a lot, actually. It gives room behind it. If you had a regular style switch panel that had a bunch of rocker switches and whatnot, you can use these. So these are pretty awesome. Big fan of them. Plus you can run the wire through this little hole, this little crevice. But you know, we also have manual overrides for like a water pump, right? So there's the water pump running. But the ECU controls all that. So the beauty of using a PDM is that you can have the ECU control of stuff as well as manual overrides right in front of you, and you also have like fault sensing. So if there was a problem with the water pump, this thing would flash red at you, like where these little lights are. It would flash red at you to let you know that you have a problem with the water pump. You know, we got a trans fan, manual override. Again, it's all automated via the ECU, but if he wants to run the trans fan or the engine fan or whatever, key on, engine off, he can. Same thing with the fuel pump. Yeah, Smart Wire, kind of the way to go when it comes to, especially to the drag and drive stuff. There's 30 outputs, 16 analog inputs, plus if you wanted to, you can expand or you can use CAN bus. It's nice to have all of this automated. When we just did sick week, we didn't have to do really anything. We didn't have to remember to hit a switch. We didn't have to keep an eye on the water temp and say, oh, better turn the fan on. Everything's automated. Yes, you can do it with relays, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to do automation and manual overrides. So that's why we prefer to use PDMs. So this car's got all the bells and whistles. I fired it up last night and it fired right up. It's on methanol right now. We're on 16 Siemens Deca 220 injectors, and this one's beautiful. I really like the car. So I wanted to share it with everybody. I want everybody to see what we did with it. We still just have to button up a couple things with the headlight harness, but I just talked to Don. I wanted to make sure we did what we thought we wanted to do with headlights, and we're all done. So speaking of drag and drive, we have our drag and drive event. It starts tomorrow. No, this car won't be there, but he should be at Hot Rod Drag Week with this one. So it should be this one's a really pretty car. If you see this one out at the racetrack, you've got to stop by and look at it. There's a lot of really nice details in this car, and it's absolutely worth your time to check it out. So Yeah, that's all I got. Have a good one.